Welcome to the Shellonomics Podcast, your source for pure Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles entertainment, presented by King Mictus.
Alrighty guys, another episode of Shellonomics. We are on episode 3, talking vintage Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We're with our buddy Josh Melchart. So Josh, let's get right into it. Now, most of these episodes we're going to be doing, guys, is we're talking about the basic assortment. So for those who are new to the vintage collecting, can you explain what basic assortment figures are, Josh?
Absolutely. So basic assortment, just basically, I mean, what it boils down to is the actual regular toy line. So, you know, in 88, we had 10 figures, everybody knows. We got a few more. 90 is where we actually see it in 89 with the wacky action is where it begins. But in 90 is where it really picks up, where you start seeing the sub-series. In 90, you're going to have wacky action and the Turtles in Disguise. But 91, 92, 93, 94, you see a lot of what we call sub-series our figures. You know, as far as the Wacky Wild West or the Mutant Military or the Sewer Sports Turtles. Any of those are sub-series. The regular run of figures is just called the basic assortment. That's our main focus is going to be. Most people, when they're collecting, that's generally the first thing they go after is let me get the basic run.
Well, makes sense to me. So before we're going to talk about the basic. Yeah, now real quick, we will. If you guys notice, if you want to call us, call us on a mini technicality. Technically, in the '89 run, there were some wacky action figures. That was the Michelangelo, Rock and Roll, Sewer Swimming Don, Break Fighter Raph, and the Mouser. So there's some more wacky action in 1990. We got Sword Slice and Leo, Creepy Crawl and Splinter, and Slice and Dice Shredder. So Josh, we'll just briefly talk on those in case there are fans who like these toys, and there's nothing wrong with it. Just what's your opinion on these toys? I really didn't care for them except for the Mouser because this is the only Mouser toy we got as kids. Just what are your thoughts on these wacky action toys?
Okay. So they all have some sort of mechanical action. Gave you a feature to play with as a kid. They're more cheaply made. I believe, if I remember correctly, in the stores, they were sold at a little bit lower price point as well. So, they were very mass produced, and they tend to be kind of crappy and they tend to break because the mechanisms were garbage, the joints were garbage. The Mouser may be the most durable one out of that whole line. Everybody knows Donatello's feet are always broken, Splinter's feet are always broken. Mikey's wind-up action barely ever works, same with Leo. And then you get to Bebop and Rocksteady and you come to some other weird issues. And like I said, not the greatest line. Kind of cheaply made, but and not very much value at all. When you're talking wacky action figures, if you're talking loose complete, you're paying. Besides, the Mouser obviously fetches a little bit more, but loose complete, Mikey, Leo, Raph, Don, $10, man. Maybe 15 if they're really nice and they work well. A Mouser you're generally going to pay 15 or $20 for sure, just because it's a Mouser. And like you said, it's the only Mouser we got in the vintage line. So,
yeah, we did talk to a cool collector who actually army builds the Mouser, which would be kind of cool. But I'm with you. I used to, I was one of those kids who used to play with toys in the tub. I thought it was cool having Swimming Don, but I really don't recall much life with him. His legs, like you say, are always shattered. And it's actually a fun fact you mentioned, Josh, is I never knew that they actually, not like a different mold, but like a different material to make those toys. And they were just, like I said, I'm sorry, but they were, I'm going to just call a spade a spade. They were garbage. I didn't really like the creep. I mean, they could have done a lot more with these toys. Creepy Crawl and Splinter is I guess they were trying to push the rad aspect, right? Because he really would actually crawl if it worked. And
yeah,
the arm thing, I think it was just, I kind of think it was just another way to have parents spend money because, like you say, a lot of us collectors don't really go for these. I guess if you're on a budget and you just want to have some vintage turtle toys, like Josh says, $10 for a complete toy, not a bad bargain if you just want to have a couple on the shelf and you just want to add to your volume. But like Josh says, value-wise, they're not really much, and you can kind of find these anywhere. And we're going to jump into the next sort of, extras are the Disguise Turtles. Now, for this one, we had Leo the Sewer Samurai, Raph the Space Cadet with his cool little helmet, which we'll talk about that helmet on an accessory. I think that one still goes for maybe a decent $1, but you got Mike the Sewer Surfer. Now, the only one I liked out of this, I always thought Don the Undercover Turtle was cool. Now, did you have any like at these ones at all, Josh, or no?
So when I was a kid, I definitely remember having Surfing Mike. I'm positive I had this whole line, but Sewer Surfing Mike stands out to me as a kid. He's one of the, as far as loose variants as the disguised turtles go. There's two different variants on the length of Leo's sword, and then Mikey has a variant with his surfboard. There's one with 3 holes and one with 2, maybe, or the pegs are in different spots, I believe. But once again, the Turtles in Disguise might be the most mass-produced line in the Ninja Turtles franchise. I've had Raph the Space Cadet sit on my, I think had everything but his bubble helmet, and I could not sell it for $5. It sat on my eBay store for months and months and months. So cool figures. Everybody remembers having them as a kid. Not very much value. And besides, like I said, Don the Undercover Turtle was kind of a cool idea. Mikey the Surfer wasn't bad. Astronaut stuff was kind of played out by the time we were kids. I mean, they were kind of losing that whole astronaut hype by the time the 90s came around. So that one kind of fell on deaf ears. And then the Sewer Samurai Leo, it wasn't a very cool figure. It was kind of clanky. I never liked that one.
Yeah, and the thing too about this is, like I say, Mikey the Sewer Surfer kind of makes sense. Don the Undercover Turtle makes sense because he had the episode where they were in his trench coat, and they were featured in the movie, those trench coats with Raphael at least. But Sewer Samurai and Space Cadet, where did this come from? Like there was no, like, as a kid you can't really imagine that setting. So accessory wise, like you say, these loose complete don't go for much. Does that space helmet for Raph have any value? Is that like probably the hardest piece to get?
Yeah, loose complete. So there's Don the Undercover Turtle's got his mask strap that's always hard to find, and that little black pizza that's hard to find. Okay. So those fetch some good value, but and then Raph's helmet for the Space Cadet obviously does too, but Mikey, nothing there. I mean, I would say Mikey and Leo are $15 or less, maybe 20 tops for a real nice one complete. Raph probably 25 complete just because of the helmet. If you wanted to buy just that helmet alone, it's probably a $10 piece. More if it's perfect and clear, because that's always scratched up and almost never clear. And then the little strap for the back of Don's mask, probably, like I said, if you're going to buy just it, it's probably $10, but you could probably buy the figure loose complete for 15 or 20. So those are some of them ones that you just buy them complete. Don't buy them unless you don't want to complete them. Just buy them complete, because it's going to cost you more money to buy the figure and each accessory than it will cost you to just buy the complete figure.
Well, that's a good point, especially in this day and age. Unless you're able to find them at a flea market or a toy show, if you're buying these online, and that's what another podcast interview I just did last week. Got to factor in shipping, like you're saying. If you buy the figure, then you buy the accessory. That's almost anywhere between $10 to $15 shipping, where you could have got yourself another figure if you were able to just buy it complete. So no, I agree on that all the way. I wanted your take on this. So I'm looking at this checklist. Again, we've given a big shout out to Dan and TMNTToys.com. This is our greatest gift, probably, to make it easier for us collectors out there in the toy vintage, just any TMNT toy. He's got them all. But yeah. Why does Don the Storage Shell Turtle count as a basic figure on his 1990 checklist? I was just curious about that.
So, okay. Everybody remembers the Storage Shell Turtles, but they came out in 1991. They didn't plan on releasing all 4 turtles as the Storage Shell. The Storage Shell Don was kind of a gimmick, and then when they realized that it was kind of neat that you could hide the weapons shell and stuff, they made the other 3 in 1991 and then re-released Don with them. but Don will always have an earlier copyright on his shell than his brothers because he was actually released a year earlier.
Now, isn't there a variant with the storage shell that's worth a couple more dollars, or?
Well, that'd be the black belt storage shell that were released in 94 and 95. And
Oh,
you're talking a lot more than a couple bucks.
oh, okay.
You know, RAF, I think the last RAF sold for almost $2,500. The other three, I mean, Mikey's going to cost you over $1,000 loose complete. Don and Leo are probably right up there, $800-900.
Wow.
So,
Well, I was lost on this. So for those listening now, again, we're talking about the storage shell turtles. There's only one that came out in '90, but Josh just gave us a lot of zeros on those other turtles. So how can us amateurs, spot the variant? Again, are you able to find these at Grandma's garage sale down the street in the toy bin? How can you tell the difference?
So your regular storage shell turtles, the belt is going to match the bandana. So Donnie purple, Mikey orange, Leo blue, Raph red, and then the black belt storage shell, just like the name says, the belt on their waist is going to be black like an '88 turtle. And then they also came with translucent weapons. Raph in a translucent green, Leo in yellow, Donnie in red, and Mikey in a clear blue. Very valuable figures, very sought after figure.
Good to know. Good to know. Thank you. That's why we got you here, Josh, to help clue us in just while we go on our toy. It's again, we're filming this in March 2025. Spring is pretty much here. Everyone's doing their spring cleaning, purging, getting stuff out of their attic. This is a good. Before we go to the next video, do you think this is a good time to start getting into the toy hunt again while people are just doing their purge to clean out their house?
Absolutely. The yard sale season starts up soon. The flea market season starts up soon. Well, I guess depending on where you live. If you live in Illinois, where we have 4 full seasons, the flea market season starts soon. Yeah. We don't do outdoor flea markets in the winter here. It's too cold.
That's right.
But then, if you're like me and you're a country bumpkin, the auction starts soon, and I'm a big fan of that. When somebody passes away and they just take everything in their house and auction. I've actually scored some pretty cool action figures like that. Not a lot of turtles, but I did come across like almost every single He-Man ever made are masters of the universe for the people that really care about them. So all those are very good things that come with the warm weather that I love seeing.
Well, quick, let's actually dive into that for a quick minute if you're cool with it. Can you explain more about that auction house? Because I've seen them online. Do they still do old school auctions like toy sales? Like, is it like how they show in the movies?
It really depends on the auction house. Nowadays, you have like purely online bidding. But the ones I like are the old school kind where you still go to them, they hand you a number, and when you bid, you just hold your number up, and there's a guy talking real fast, pointing at people, and I just think it's cool to do those, but I don't, when I'm going to those, generally my wife will be with me and we'll be looking at some other stuff besides toys, some antiques and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know they did that. Those are still around. I'm going to actually see if I can try to find one to do that live, just to say you get just the experience alone. You don't even have to spend any money just to witness them.
It's cool. There's nothing more fun than a live auction.
Yeah, and if you play it like poker, I'm pretty sure you can kind of read people's poker face to see how high they're going to bid, or if they get mad when you stick your hand up and it's like, hey, come on, man, I want that for cheaper. It's like, no, I know that figure's rare, buddy. I know what I'm getting into. So it's like, you're not getting this, or at least not getting away cheap. All right, we'll run down the list here the way Dan has it set up. So we went from Don. Let's go to, even, this is not the vintage way, but they do this in the Mutant Mayhem movie. Ray Fillet. The Ray Fillet dude just keeps singing. So let's talk a little bit about Ray here.
Okay, so Ray Fillet is going to have 3 different variants. He's going to have yellow chest, blue V, red chest, purple V, and purple chest, red V. There's one of them is non-color change. That's the yellow chest, blue V, and then the other 2 are color changes. Purple chest, red V, red chest, purple V. I believe red chest, purple V is the hardest one to get, but I could be. I could be wrong there. There's no real difference in value. The two color changes tend to go a little higher than the non. But Ray Flay is a cool figure, a great concept. It's the Manta Ray Mutant. He's got like a little spear gun and then a little buddy named Fish Sticks. That's cool. Very cool figure. Like I said, along the cheaper lines, 25 bucks complete at the most. What's nice about Ray Flay is he was re-released in the vintage line, so there's more of his figures floating around than some of the other ones, so he's pretty easy to get.
Oh, that's good to know. Now, here's the guy I remember the most out of this series, even though I never had him as a kid. It's just because he always stood out in the commercials. PandaCon, never in the cartoon, but what's the deal with PandaCon?
So PandaCon is they kind of introduced him after Usagi Yojimbo came into the cartoon.
Okay.
It's the same kind of concept, samurai animal from a different dimension, blah, blah, blah. PandaCon's another one of the figures that comes with a variant. You've got dark face, or light face and dark face. It's just one of them has more gray than white and white than gray. No price difference whatsoever there. But PandaCon is one of the few, there's not very many Ninja Turtles good guys that got like real guns. Like he gets like a legit like pistol. I always thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah, especially like a samurai warrior busting out of all things.
Yeah, but definitely a cool figure. One of my favorites. I own a couple of the prototype pieces for PandaCon, so I enjoy that figure a lot.
We'll have to do a show and shell with those prototypes in the future stream. So, all right, guys, the easiest figure to complete, and Josh, tell everybody why. Mondo Gecko.
Mondo Gecko, because it only comes with one accessory. But that's where you run into problems. It's also one of the most broken figures in the vintage line. You got to make sure he's got his tail. He's got a variant, so you can either have black eyebrow or blue eyebrow, or no, it's green eyebrow or blue eyebrow. No price difference whatsoever. There's some variants in the packaging on that one. When he was first released, you got Mondo Gecko and his skateboard. The skateboard already had a sticker on it, but then they also released the sticker for the skateboard on the sticker pack that was in the package. And then then later in the line they take that skateboard sticker off, and you just receive the other stickers that came with it. So there is some variants out there to hunt for. In the pack is kind of more difficult to find and does command a little bit higher price. But Mondo Gecko loose, $15 figure at most. Pretty easy to get. I think I sell him loose complete for like less than $10 on my eBay store.
Way to go. And that's that's the easiest guy to complete. All you need is just one accessory. Like you say, to make sure you keep his tail. So
and the wheels can come off the skateboard too, obviously, so you got to make sure those are there. But yeah,
I always thought it was a cool figure because he's so easy to see. Playmates did a great job with his footwork because he fits on that skateboard nice and easy. You know what I mean? He doesn't slip off.
Absolutely.
So I like that one. I always liked it. Now this one's going to be a little bit of a challenge because a lot of people will buy this character and they forget what he comes with. So Wingnut and Screwloose. Let's talk about those guys for a brief moment.
Okay. So Wingnut and Screwloose were in the cartoon. They actually appeared in the comics as super cool figure. So Wingnut is his own version of Batman, kinda. It's almost like a spoof. Screwloose is his little mosquito buddy. Cool figure. I thought it was cool because, like Ace Duck, he had wings and you could kind of make him fly around. He had a grenade and a pistol, a belt, 2 wings, and screws. There's no variations on that one. But a cool figure. See, a wombat. I want to say he's a wombat, if that sounds correct.
I would say so. I think that's. I mean, I know there was an episode about wombats. He wasn't in that one. I was like where they made fun of Chuck E. Cheese. Those guys. I always like that episode. But no, it's what I want to say too is this the first year they came up with like you call so. What are the vintage guys called? They call them buddies, like that little figure that comes with them to help these figures.
Little buddies or sidekicks.
Okay.
Trying to think if anything was before them. I don't think anything's before 1990. I think you're right there.
This is the debut.
Well, the little guys that came in the ooze can would have been
that's true.
89, but they didn't come with a figure. But yeah, I guess 90 would be the first year anybody came with a figure too. Just that once again, they're looking for a little more replay value, a little bit of play value. That's kind of what they're going for by throwing in those kind of little extra things.
Yeah, no, I always thought it was cool. It's like once you get a bonus figure, pretty much. So,
Absolutely.
and you got to make sure you get those wings, guys. It's kind of like a Baxter Stockman. Like I say, there's a lot of people that may not know he does come with wings. So you want to make sure if you're looking on eBay and whatnot, make sure you get everything with them.
And then the wings are right wing, left wing specific, so you can't just buy any two wings and they're going to fit. You got to make sure you have the.
Well, I appreciate that tip there too. Now you are correct on that. Coming up next, a gentleman who was in the Turtle cartoon with the Donatello Dark Knight parody on the cover of Turtles 3 for Nintendo, but did not compete in the game. But at least he was in Shredder's Revenge. So I always thought the Triceratops was cool. But again, let's talk about a bit about him and his tail.
Okay, Triceratops, another one of those ones that I talk about, one of the broken vintage figures in the line. Triceratops is always broken because of the way they set up the joint with his tail. It's like almost like sleeved. It just always snaps there. No variants on Triceratops. He's one of Krang's warriors from Dimension X. Comes with 2 blue guns, a white belt. Cool figure. It's one of them ones that some people army build. Doesn't much look like the Triceratops that we were looking from the comics or anything that we knew, but cool enough figure.
No, I like them.
A lot of people confuse. They see Triceratops' belt and they always say it's Rat King just because it has rats on it.
Ooh.
But they're dead rats. Why would the Rat King have dead rats on his belt? He likes rats. So Rat King is an orange belt, Triceratops is a white belt.
Okay, got you down there. So this is the guy, for me, just a quick little story. I never had foot soldiers growing up, and I didn't know who this character was. There's one coming up next. So for some reason, I actually had 2 of them. So he was my foot soldier because he was a robot, the Fugitoid. So can we talk a little bit about him and why, if you have any guess, why if he's supposed to be one of the biggest turtle allies, you can go ahead and give us a little history on his comic, where he came from. But why did Turtles 3 have him as a villain in the Nintendo game? He's in the Technodrome and he's actually coming at you with a gun.
So Fugitoid, he was made by same guys that created the Ninja Turtles. He had his own comic. I'm not real knowledgeable on the whys of the video game, but as far as the figure, they stayed real true to the comic on that one. I mean, it looks super similar. My favorite thing about that figure is that the chest opens.
Oh my god, yes. I'm glad you brought that up. I always thought that was great.
And then there's attachment points for every one of his weapons. He's one that can hold all his weapons at the same time. It always made me upset as a kid when I would get a figure with like 40 accessories and then he can only hold 2. You know what I'm saying? And then there's no place to put all the other ones. With Fugitoid, you could attach every single weapon to him with his chest. I mean, it looks cool as shit. I really like that figure. I just think it's a cool figure.
Well, same here. Yeah, Gerald Honeycutt, one of the bigger, again, he was before the Turtles creations, Eastman and Laird in the comics. So I thought it was cool. Yeah. He appeared in didn't appear in our OG comic, didn't appear in any of the movies that we grew up with, but he was in the 2003 series. And again, Josh made a good point for those who are new. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please do so. We got more episodes coming there on Spotify, but make sure you have his chest piece with him because, again, if you're buying lots on eBay, some of those guys may not have that piece, and that's another piece that could be kind of, will cost you a couple bucks. Plus, it was cool just to open up that chest. I like that. I thought that was unique. All right, coming up next. Now, unfortunately, this is only the other frog we had. We only had Genghis and Napoleon. We never got Attila and the other one. So, why, again, I feel this is one of the more mass-produced figures of the bunch because I see him all over the place. Still a cool figure. He's got his cool little green shield, but anything else you want to talk about with Napoleon Bonafrog?
2 variants on Napoleon Bonafrog. Typically, they're called light spots and dark spots. The spots on his body, one has really dark spots, one has lighter spots. But you also hear a pink peace sign, green peace sign. On one of them, he's got a pink peace sign. On the other one, he's got a green peace sign. No price difference for the variants or anything like that. Does come with a cool sidekick, Flyboy.
Yeah, he did. I like him.
Flyboy's neat because he's got little fly wings on the back that can come off. I always thought that was kind of cool. I'm trying to think. He does have a really cool shield. Not that it's specific to the character. Just when you look at all the design details on his shield, there's a whole bunch of stuff hidden in there. It's a very cool piece.
Yeah, I guess real quick before we forget, again, we do talk about Loose Complete, and I like we're trying to bring this up in a lot of our videos too, Josh, for those who are new here. In regards to the accessories here, would you agree that most of them just are not really rare in this, at least in this line in 1990? They go anywhere between maybe $1 to $5.
Through 1990, there's not really much in the whole.
Okay.
Any accessory that you could buy, in the $2 to $3 range a piece, no problem. I mean, if you're buying in bulk, you there's some of these you should be able to get for $1 a piece, no problem.
Okay. That's what I figured. Just how about the sidekicks or the buddies? Do they have a big impact? Like, do they go for a little more?
It all depends on which one it is. Fish sticks doesn't seem to really go. $3 or $4, maybe $5. Screw Loose kind of goes a little higher, $6 or $7. Same thing. What's the other one? Flyboy. That's going to be like a $4 or $5 figure probably. Some people strictly collect sidekicks, so sometimes you can bump a little bit more of a premium out of it. But cool figures.
Yeah, this is my favorite of the sidekicks coming up here, Muckman and Joe Eyeball. So let's talk about these guys. I think this is one of the cooler toys out there.
Okay, so Muckman and Joe Eyeball, really cool figure. Pretty much your basic concept for the whole Ninja Turtles line. Random guy that does some sort of menial job he's a track worker, gets mutated. I think Joe Eyeball is just some slime ball that was in the trash that got mutated too, or maybe it was his coworker. I can't remember. I'm sure there's a backstory on that, but very cool figure. No variants on that one. What I always liked about Muckman and Joe Eyeball is that you could put his trash can backpack on, plop Joe Eyeball in there, and then also, even though my mom never let me do it, you could take his head cap off and pour ooze through him, and he had holes where it'd go all out his mouth and stuff, which was really neat. That's another one of those figures where if you look at all the details and the molding and stuff, there's a lot of stuff hidden in that figure that is really cool.
I'm going to ask you something here. This is another reason why I like Muckman. Are you familiar with the TV show Robot Chicken?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you remember the spot with Muckman in it? There's a little short on there.
Now that you say that, something comes to mind.
Yeah.
I do remember. They did a lot of Ninja Turtle spoofs that were funny.
Yes, and Muckman's in there. I'm not going to reveal all of it because I'm not plugging, I don't get paid for this, but I do want everybody to look up Krangman Robot Chicken because Muckman's in there, and the voice actor says, "Is there a banana peel on my head?" Which is the truth because he came up with that. So if you haven't seen it for a while, I'll pop you to later tonight so you can check it out. But it's really cool. It's Muckman, an April O'Neil figure, and the OG Krang's in there. So it's just a quick little silly spoof. But again, that's why Muckman's kind of special to me because he makes an appearance in Robot Chicken. Now we're going to go to another character. I think this would have been a great figure for a cartoon. I don't know why he was not written into any of the episodes. I'm sure you'll agree with me on Pizza Face.
Pizza Face, cool figure. I mean, great design for a bad guy against the Turtles. I mean, what better bad guy for the turtles than a guy that makes pizza, the food that they love. And then like you look at his pizzas and they got cockroaches and spiders and all kinds of greasy, nasty stuff on them. Pizza face, you're gonna have two variants. You're gonna have unpainted knife and painted knife. On one of them, on his belly section, the knife is painted green. On the other one, it's not painted at all. I believe on the one with the knife that's painted green, all the blood spots or pizza sauce spots on his hat are all colored as well. Really cool, interesting note on Pizza Face is his original concept had a removable hat that he had this little like weird mutant guy attached to his head underneath of it. The original sculptor for that, David Archofsky, actually re-released it a few years ago to buy the interchangeable head to put on your Pizza Face where you could take the hat off just like it was supposed to originally be. Very cool design. Another one of them ones with stuff into it. Pizza Face's weapons are amazing. He gets a big cleaver knife. He's got a peg leg that goes into a pizza box for his leg. You can also use his meat cleaver knife as his peg leg. And then he has two pizzas and a shield. Shield's another one of them cool pieces with all kinds of hidden details. But, just like I said with the rest of the 1990 figures, this is maybe up towards 30 for a very nice one.
No, I always thought that pizza box leg was really, really wild. Now, this one, I would say, is kind of a challenge. I learned this from our good friend John Coleman, the next guy to complete. Let's talk a little bit about Mutagen Man. Can you explain all about his pellets?
Yeah, so Mutagen Man was in the cartoon. Not exactly as we see him in the toy, but pretty close compared to most of the things that we got a real close offer. Mutagen Man, his body, or what's left of his body, his brain just floats around in ooze. It's a cool figure because you could fill him with water or ooze. And I thought that was kind of neat, kind of incorporated him into bath time when you were a kid. But the hardest part to complete on him is obviously going to be, I'm trying to think if it's 7 or 8 little pieces of trash. I want to say 7. But it's like an apple core or a wrench, just weird stuff, and it all went inside of his body. So what's really cool about him is you can find a Mutagen Man pretty cheap with the trash still in his body. You just got to take the time to be able to get it out of there to fill yours back up. Those little trash pieces can be quite expensive. I know probably about, for an unpunched, like on the sprue set, it's probably close to $25.
Oh wow!
But then you could buy, a complete one for $35. So once again, it's buy the complete figure. Yeah. He's got a purple hose that goes from his back tank to his gun, or no, his back tank to the other part of his body. That purple hose is also pretty hard to find, but his other accessories are pretty readily available. He's got an upper belt and a lower belt, a head plug, an oxygen tank, the purple hose, a gun, and then 7 little trash pieces. So quite a few little bits and bobbles there on track down.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was just wondering, because again, my friends helped me when I was trying to, back in my day, trying to, like most of us, we want to get every figure, and I just remember a lot of advice regarding those pellets, so thank you for bringing that up. All right, this guy was in Season 7, Night of the Rogues, 1 episode only, but I didn't really, this is one of the figures, he's okay. He's probably, if I had to rank every character on this basic figure assortment, he's probably like the least on my list, but any praise you got for Scumbug here?
Scumbug, it is kind of a neat figure, and once again, we basic Ninja Turtle guideline. He's got 1 mutant foot, 1 booted foot. He's a bug exterminator that got mutated, so obviously he's partially bug. There are 2 variants on that one. There's going to be green boot and black boot, blue boot and black boot, depends on how you hear it called. Black boot is definitely much harder to find. Can be a little bit more expensive, but most people don't know the difference, so Once again, he has the 4 little orange bugs that are pretty hard to find. And then he has backpack, gun, 2 short hoses and a long hose. A lot of people confuse his long hose and Krang's hose, but they're completely different. Once you see them in person, it's impossible to mix up. So, yeah, cool figure in my opinion. My favorite thing about that figure is that his little jaw action. I always thought that was neat, but that's something to look for if you're going to buy one. Make sure it has that lower jaw, because if it's missing, you're probably never going to find one for sale.
Damn, I didn't know that. And now we come to my personal favorite of the bunch here. The hardest, probably one of the harder bosses in Turtles in Time, Slash. There's a lot to know about Slash here, so feel free to talk as long as you need to about Slash.
Absolutely. So Slash is probably the most popular figure from. There's 2 figure variants and 3 belt variants there for Slash. The figure variants, you're going to have mustard belly and then bright yellow belly. The easiest way to explain that is all of the spikes on his back are a bright yellow color. So like the spikes on the back of his shell. When they say bright yellow belly, his belly is the same color as those spikes. The mustard belly is it's much closer to the 88 Turtles front shell than a bright yellow. And then the belts for bright yellow belly, you're going to need a pink belt red S, and then you're going to have pink belt yellow S, which goes on a mustard belly, and then you've got black belt, which is the most common. But there's also 2 variants of the black belt. I want to say one with 2 stars on it and one with 3 stars on it. Pricing. So just the figure, bright yellow belly, it's probably a $75 or $80 figure. Loose complete, 130 to 160 probably, depending on condition. And then your standard mustard belly, pink belt, yellow S is probably between a $50 to $70 figure. And then your regular old loose complete Slash is probably $30 to $40 figure, depending. He comes with the same exact accessories as Toka. He has the exact same body as Toka. They just kind of swapped out the heads. And then the little shoulder pad thing. But Slash is definitely a popular figure. He's not hard to find by any means. It just tends to be that people buy him up quick. So he can be a little more difficult to find just because the whole supply and demand scenario.
Well, it kind of makes sense. I always liked Jimmers because I'm a big wrestling guy, and I always liked having all his championship belts. So it was pretty cool, I thought, to have those. I kind of wish, and if they had to do it again, maybe they would have given us variants with the turtle belts, kind of how they did Slash. I think that would have been kind of a cool little plug. Let's see here. So, a couple of things we can bring up with this line. If you guys are enjoying these, again, do comment down below. For this run we're doing now, we don't really plan on talking about the vehicles. We do know there's a lot of them. Maybe down the road we just do a quick little, pop about all these vehicles. But the ones I wanted to get into, I never had these as kids, but I always thought these ones were really cool. What was your take on the giant turtles?
So the giant turtles to me were the main reason they were cool when I was a kid. Wasn't really for any kind of play value on them. It's because they came with the weapons. And when you're a kid, those nunchucks fit perfectly in your hands. And you could swing them around and hit your brother with them and blah, blah, blah. But that's why I think the Giants are so hard to find weapons for, as I think everybody got home with those giant Ninja Turtles, and the first thing they did was take that weapon and just whap the shit out of their little brother.
Probably.
That's what I would have done. But the Giant Turtles are kind of neat. They were re-released in the vintage line, so there's a couple variants to them. And then the belts even have a variant on the Giant Vintage. You can get the original belts for the Giants were embroidered, and then a little bit later in the run, they just started screen printing the leather on the belt. But the original ones, it's actually hand stitched, embroidered, or not hand, but stitched into the belt, which I always thought was pretty cool. But yeah, the weapons are awesome. The belts are awesome. Like I said, the turtles, they're cool, but the weapons I think were the best part about the Giants.
Let's talk again. We'll talk about this just really quick. Can you explain the difference here between these giant turtles and the 1980, the 88 toy release? Because as I know, you don't get the throwing stars. And how many weapons come with each turtle?
Okay, so Mikey and Don just came with one weapon. You got one bow or one nunchuck. And then Raph came with two scythes, and Leo came with two swords. And this would be a color match to the turtle for Leo, Raph, and Mikey, and then Don's would just be a brown bow. You don't get any other accessories with the Giants. No throwing stars, no commas. That.
And how do you tell the difference of not the reprints, but they have been doing these re-releases, and I just wish there was a different. I wish they could have found a different way to call these giant turtles, because for people
you're talking on the modern re-release?
Yeah, because for me it's like, there might be somebody again who's new to this, and they're just gonna see giant 1990 turtle, and they're gonna get excited and buy it, and then they're gonna say, wait a minute, this isn't the right vintage one. So what's an easy way for people buying those to spot the difference?
Number one, the colors are just different. You can, if you look up a vintage set and then look up a modern set, the colors of all four turtles are different. But the number two, on the new releases, the belt is on there permanently. You can't take it off. On the old ones, you can take the belt off. Okay? So if you mess with the belt and don't see any way to take it off, that's a new one. The next thing is all the weapons are just a little different. Like Mikey doesn't have a string chuck anymore. It's got a plastic chain on it. They're just goofy. They're just a little weird. So pretty easy to spot the difference. But yeah, it's one of those. The more of these re-releases and remakes they make, the harder it is to sort between the modern and the vintage when you're buying them in lots on eBay for sure.
Yeah. So the episode's done with the toy talk, but just for some bonus tips here, I always like trying to pick Josh's brain a little bit, and we're going to talk a little more about these reprints now. So, do you think two questions? One, this is going to hurt the market value of our original toys, and two, they're doing all these re-releases. Do you ever see them actually giving us the Shogun Shotes, the scratches, and the hot spots to come back?
Okay, so when you ask, is it going to affect the value? We can see whether that's happened or not, and I can fact that 100% it has affected the value of vintage turtles.
Yeah, I was just saying.
And what I always point to that, if you want living proof, if you look at the Sewer Heroes line, they were re-released. I want to say like 2021, maybe 2020. Doesn't matter. But Mighty Bebop used to be a pretty sought-after figure in the vintage line. Very hard to find. Loose complete, it'd be like $150, $200, almost $200 figure. Since the re-release came, he's worth half of that complete. So definitely affects vintage value. Even though the figures aren't quite the same as vintage, a lot of collectors are happy enough to say it looks like the one I had when I was a kid, and that's all that matters to them. So I get that side of it. Okay, and then what was your next question there?
Yeah, no, I'll just speak my piece. I really don't like it. Again, I guess maybe just like that old man, get off my lawn. I just would rather they leave our figures alone and they can do something else. I mean, I guess it's kind of cool for some people to have a chance to buy these, because with that Mighty Bebop, I know a lot of his toys have the ear busted. We talked about busted tails and we can dive into that more when his year and time comes. But just since they're doing all these re-releases, do you think they're going to actually really put a stomp in our retro collection and actually throw out the hard pieces, the scratches, the hot spots? Do you see them ever doing those figures again?
I would hope they don't, just for collector's sake.
Yeah.
Because like it muddies the waters. It's just like this. There's 1,000 of them. Just I call them shitty scratch repros.
Yeah, we talked about those. Right.
But they're getting to be some pretty good ones. And then obviously every time a new look at them. But the more and more of that type of stuff that comes onto the market and kind of muddies the water, the harder it is for newer collectors to get into it and enjoy it as a vintage thing. Now, as a person that's just trying to relive memories, stuff like that, I totally get the retro line. I personally feel like it's a money grab. I don't buy them. No interest in them whatsoever. There's no way in the world I'm going to pay, or whoever the fuck, $20 for a Sewer Surfing Mikey when I could go buy a vintage one for $15. I am not going to do it. I see lots of people do it. I mean, people buy them and show them off in all the Ninja Turtle groups all the time. I'm not that guy. That doesn't make any sense to me. Why would I pay $30 for a re-release Baxter Stockman that has shitty weapons when I can get the real vintage Baxter Stockman for $10-15? It doesn't make sense to me.
No, I am with you all the way.
I don't see them holding value. That's where I see a lot of people. They say, I'm saving them, I'm collecting them. I totally get that. And vintage turtles, the value, it's an intrinsic value I get, so it's kind of a made-up value, but the value is there because I just don't see there being a value in these retro releases 20 years. They might not be worth a little more, but, we're talking where, Scratch was a $5 figure in Walmart and now sells for, $10,000 on the card, whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
So there's no way that the re-release of, Navy SEAL Mike, that's another one. That one just came out.
Oh, yeah.
That one's a huge bummer because so many people try to, and they made the exact same color as the vintage one. I'm different, put them side by side, and I'll check it out of it. But it's like, at least if you're going to make them, make something different about them so it's easy to tell. But no, they make it just about as difficult as possible.
And it sucks because it's just cringe hearing that be the vintage figure. That's not a vintage figure. The vintage figure is the one that came out in our time, in our era. So, yeah, I don't like those. Another one that some people like them, and this is just our opinions, guys. This is not really a debate. It's just our opinions here. What is your take on those Super 7 figures? It's another way to re-release the vintage figure, buff them up, pimp them out, and spend a lot more money on the figure.
That one I kind of got behind.
Okay.
I bought the Super 7 Scratch, and I think I have the Super 7. I do. I have the Super 7 Scratch, and I have the Super 7 Mutagen Man. I believe they're both Super 7 Ultimates. The accessories are cool as shit. The figures are cool. When I see those ones, I always think those are the action figures we should have got when we were kids. The weapons are cooler. They have, more articulation. They pose better. They're a little bit bigger. They fit in your hand a little better. Those are the ones we should have got when we were kids. So I have no problem with any of the NECA or 7. I just feel like all the Playmates are a money grab, and especially some of them, they are the crappiest made. What was it? Was it Ninja Turtles Cobra Kai or whatever?
Yeah.
When I saw those figures looked so shitty.
Yeah.
I looked at them, was like, I would not buy those for my kids because they look crappy. They looked like bootleg figures, or those ones that came out with the trench coats.
don't even think
I don't know what Playmates was smoking that day, but they could probably still solve like all the world's problems if everybody got a little bit of whatever they were on.
No comment there on that. Just I'm laughing now. I left my train of thought because that's kind of my view on that too. With this, maybe they just want to kind of like, hey, we're kind of like, hey, we're still here because NECA's passionate with their toys. The Super Sevens, yeah, like the Rapid Mike. I thought that figure was cool. So you have no problem with paying a little bit more of a premium price too because
but like I said about the same way with NECA, I buy some, but I buy the ones I like. Generally, it's ones either that I think the figure is really cool and I like having one that busted into the details a little more. Because Playmates, when you start looking at like the difference between hard copies, we lost a lot of cool details along the way, like that the original sculptor had shown off. And I feel like Super 7 kind of brings some of those details back out in the figure. They just do a really good job of making a new figure with a vintage feel, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does because it's kind of like a new light shining. It's like, and it's. I agree. I think they're pretty rad, and value wise, the thing is too is a lot. Now they're not like Beanie Babies where they're retired, but we did have a cool collector on. And just how you said too in regards to reprints, he said the same thing about his Foot Soldier Army build. He's like, I was thinking it's kind of cheating when I'm building my vintage army line if I'm buying those, re-releases. So he actually said he wants to get the OG ones. But where was I going with this? Just yeah. Any other thoughts on value in regards to the NECA lines? I guess in the Super Sevens, like the reprint or.
There's been a few of them like Scratch when they first announced it. The pre-orders went huge. People were buying them left and right. But most of them, if you're wanting to wait about a month, maybe 2 months after they come out, I've seen most people be able to get them at retail or below retail, no problem. There has been a few of the NECA ones that were harder to find. What's his name? Doesn't matter. I don't know. There's been a few of them, like the movie 3 ones when they first came out. Hard time finding them. Selling for not a ton more than retail, but people were able to like buy them and then make 1.5 times their money off of them. Which anytime you can do that with something that's sold in stores, you're doing all right.
Yeah, I would say so. All right, so this will be our last topic we bring it in here for. So let's talk about trading now, because I think that I don't do it as much. But just what are your thoughts on trading for those who are new to collecting? What to do, what not to do, and how to make sure it's favorable for, I guess, both parties. Because again, if I'm trading you, I got a turtle van, and I want a figure from you. I'm the one who's fronting more shipping, so I got a big ass turtle van here. When you're sending me a rarer figure, so just if you want any insight you want to share on trading, if you've done it, if you still do it, and some do's and don'ts.
Absolutely. So trading used to be a really big part of what I did when I was first getting into. I was lucky enough that my first trade ever for any Ninja Turtle and for any toy was with one of the coolest Ninja Turtle guys on the planet, Jerry Wisnowski. My first trade ever, Ninja Turtles, was I traded 5 Mego Star Trek figures for a loose complete hotspot. And that would have been about 13, 14 years ago. So you can trade and get some big time stuff and not have to fork out the money, but you also have to realize when we did that trade that I was shipping than he did. So yeah, it can even out price wise, but what I always tell people doing trading is make sure you vet the person that you're trading with. And make sure, you yourself are vetted. You can't be wanting to make people trade with you if you're kind of shysty or you're known for trying to rip people off or you have, or you overvalue your items. If you're trading with somebody, just be honest with what your stuff is worth, what their stuff is worth. And what it really comes down to, value doesn't even shit in the trade. are both parties happy at the end of it? That's the big thing. I might be willing to trade lots of want. You know what I mean? So the big thing is vetting that person. All you got to do for Big Ninja Turtles group is say, hey, I'm looking to do a trade with this guy. Has anybody worked with him before? Does anybody have anything? Really quick, if they're a scammer, the group tells you. If they're a good guy, the group tells you. Like I said, back when I first started doing trading, it was kind of hope they weren't ripping you off and, send your thing and hope it all turned. But, and always has for me, I've yet to be scammed in any kind of trade. But it's something I would be a lot more careful with these days, but definitely can be done. There's some really good groups out there that kind of watch out for the bad apples. So,
and they're public groups too. There's a couple I'm a part of that are in the Turtle group that I think we both know the admins very well. If you have a question, you can talk to them. I would also say, just how Josh always says, make sure you're using a box, not an envelope when you're mailing figures, just out of respect. Make sure you handle with care. Spend that couple extra bucks. Treat that figure like you're the one receiving it, right? You want to make sure there's bubble wrap in there. You want to make sure everything's included. So how does it work? Again, for somebody who's brand new, how are you going to be able to trust that seller to make sure that they have, I would say, to cover your own ass, so to speak. Like, you want to make sure that, now use with insurance.
The big thing is, so we all get into these Facebook groups, and we have to, just like in the real world, we all build our reputation as just as a less of a, no other way to say it, as a Ninja Turtle guy. Yeah. So if you go into any of the Facebook groups and say, hey, I'm going to do Josh Melchart, does anybody know him? I would imagine if you said that in one of the Facebook groups, there's going to be a lot of people come, Josh, he's a guy and blah, blah, blah. Never be wrong. But, if you're a new person and you make that post or somebody makes that post and nobody knows it, you're going to have a hard time doing stuff like that. But that's the big thing, is building your reputation. Get in the groups, buy stuff, sell stuff. You know what I mean? Make friends with people. I've met people all over the world because of Ninja Turtles. And then with the different Comic-Cons and the different conventions, my favorite, I just had really good times. Made almost lifelong friends through this. So it's a really cool thing to be a part of. And I'm just glad that I've been able to be a part of it for as long as I have.
Yeah, and I know we've done a couple trades back in the day, and I've always liked it because, other things you can do to make this easier if you want is when you bring it to the post office, ask for a scanned receipt. So that way you cover yourself. Feel free to take a picture of your addresses to show, hey, look, this is how it's packed to them. One question, I guess, just if it's somebody who's new and they're a little nervous. Now, let's say I'm the new guy and you're somebody who's been around the block. This is my first deal I'm working with you. And I would recommend not doing anything big with high value. But would you be against anybody if they had to kind of prove themselves? Would they have to mail first and wait until you got the figure? I was curious how you would do that, depending on your age group and stuff.
There used to be a lot of people who did things that way.
Okay.
I personally don't like that one.
Right.
I like to just say, hey, I'm going to ship on Tuesday. Can you ship on Tuesday? And if they, we both just go ship the same day. We exchange tracking number, and then we just leave it up to USPS. But I have seen stuff where people do it that way, where, I'm not going to ship mine until you ship yours. And for me, I wouldn't mind that. It doesn't matter to me. But like you said, definitely don't trade any high-end stuff. Know the stuff you're trading. Don't let yourself be a victim of any kind of ripping off. But, yeah, I'm more of a bigger fan of on Tuesday and exchange tracking numbers and be done with it.
I like that. And how long do you wait for somebody? Because again, the thing is you want to try and make the, like, for an example, hey Josh, I've got the figures we talked about. Look, I've got Slash complete. and I am interested in your, wing nut and screw loose complete. Okay, even though they're not, I mean, just for the sake of this video, we're going to say they're both equal value, regardless of the mustard belly and the popularity. So we've got this trade ready, and then they do, like, you don't hear from them for a couple days. Like, that does happen, unfortunately. So how do you go about that? Now, again, you haven't shipped out the figure. How long do you wait?
I always try to remember that everybody's life happens. You know what I mean? People get busy. People have whole lives outside of these toys and action figures.
Yes.
But the big thing is when you're in these groups, if somebody's really interested in a trade, they're not going to leave you hanging. You know what I mean? So if it's a legit guy, you're going to be able to knock out the logistics of it and make shit happen. Yep. If it's anybody, if they're disappearing for 3 or 4 days, that's probably not the type of person I'm going to want to trade with. So use your better judgment there. But, I also do remember that, like I said, if you have an agreed ship date and you don't ship and you have a valid excuse, that's one thing. But try to be understand that the other person's time has value just like your time. Like I said, we're all human. We all live lives. That's my big thing. You can be late. Being late happens, but being consistently late is just being an asshole.
Yeah. 2 more parts on this, and then we'll bring it in for a landing. So, I want to talk about some advice here. We live in what I call a screenshot era. So it's happened to all of us. I would say if you're in this game, as long as we've been, you're going to have somebody who wants, we'll just say scratch. I've got the scratch piece. I know he goes, or we'll just say $1,000 again, just for the sake of the video here. I got a scratch. He goes for $1,000. Here comes somebody who is either, I don't know if they're trying to get a reaction out of you, Josh, but I'm the one with scratch, and you're gonna just, we'll play it backwards. I'm gonna have you be scratch man. You got $1,000 scratch because you have a very nice collection, and I'm coming at you, and I'm pretty much insulting your intelligence. I'm gonna say, hey, would you do a soft-headed Mike, a soft-headed Don, and a Pandacon for that? Because this is just an example. You get people who are gonna send these offers, and it's like you really want to say, what the heck are you doing? But how do you maintain your professionalism and your courtesy? Because you don't want to be the guy saying, are you an effing, dumbass? What are you smoking on this? Because it happens with sales too, on OfferUp. Someone will say, you have a figure for $100 on there. Hey, would you do $20? No. So how do you professionally, write these people or just ignore them? What's your take and advice for those who are new?
Whenever I set my prices, I always like to give myself, I used to say 10% wiggle room.
Okay.
And then lately I've been leaning more just because of the way the market's kind of been going.
Yeah.
But if anybody sends me an offer within 10% of my price, I just accept it.
Okay.
If you can't move a couple bucks on your selling price, you shouldn't be selling.
Right.
It's just how it works. That's the world people live in, and like that. That's why that whole thrill of the making the. So that's where generally I go. Anything within 10% of my original asking price, I'm just going to accept it and be done with it. Anything after that,
like an insulting one, like someone, it's like, are you
absolutely.
on your mind? Like, how do you deal with those people without losing your shit?
What you need to remember on eBay is if they make you an offer, it's actually bumping your listing. So you don't want to just automatically fire off at them and call them stupid like you were talking about. Just either decline the offer or come back with a counter more reason. I always do this one too, and this is how I deal with the genuine low ballers.
Yeah.
If they offer me something low, I will just come back with a more reasonable offer or comfort, and then they might come back with another low offer. I will then make them an offer for higher than right.
Oh God.
You know what I mean? Do you really want it, or are you just wasting my time? That's what you have to remember. Don't let somebody just waste all your time. And then you also have to remember that you can block people. If they keep making you unreasonable offer, Just block them. Be done with them.
Yeah, why waste your time and why try to prove yourself in an argument that you're wasting your energy? I'm like, hey, I know this figure is worth this. Yeah.
Nobody wins though.
Yeah.
Nobody wins.
No, exactly.
You wasted your time, and they're an asshole. I mean, what did you prove there?
I'm going to share a funny story before we end on a happy note. Are you familiar with fantasy football? Just a little bit, too honest, like at least. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm going to just send you my funny story that my buddy would always do when it comes to fantasy football trades. Now you got the hot commodity waiver wire running back that came out and had a grand day, and this guy wants him, and he sends you a wide receiver who's mediocre and a tight end that you don't need because you have the top 10. You have the Jimmy Graham or Travis Kelce nowadays. Yep. So what my buddy would do is pretty much like you just said in regards to the low offer to the higher offer. He would say, okay, you want to give me that tight end? Take my kicker. He would just literally send his kicker for his best player to just say, that's what your trade looks like.
Absolutely. Put things into perspective.
Oh, man. So just another cool thing with trades. Do you ever give anything extra? I know when I used to trade with a lot of guys, we're a part of some real nice groups with some good people. And if it's your first trade or just if I know you and I know you got kids or I know you a little bit better, it's like, hey, you know what? I've got a couple extra turtle trading cards. You know, I don't need them. Here's 5 or 10 extra cards. Do you ever do that with your sales or trades?
Absolutely. So on my eBay sales, since I mostly work in Ninja Turtles, I was able to buy just an absolute shit ton of loose trading cards, like a couple thousand. And I used to, whenever I packed my boxes, I would just throw a couple of them in there. It got me a couple nice little comments on my feedback on eBay where people said, oh, thanks for the trading cards. I forgot those even existed. Or I would try to find a trading card that matched up to the figure they bought. If they bought a foot soldier, I'd get a foot soldier trading, or whatever. Something like that just kind of shows a little bit, and then just that little bit of extra that puts your eBay page or your selling page above everybody else's. Another thing I see a lot of people do is they'll print cheap stickers and you throw a sticker or something in there. Everybody loves stickers. I don't know if it's just our generation. I have a whole wall of stickers out in my shop that I peel it off and I stick it up there. So stuff like that is always cool for me. But anytime you can throw in, especially if it's a buddy you've done business with 3 or 4 times, you might throw in an extra figure, 100 wrapped on my garage. It's not hurting me to throw one of those in for somebody.
Yeah, and it just goes a long way because that way you build up a good rep. And again, word of mouth. Hey, you know what? I made a trade with Josh. This guy gave me an extra figure. He's a good guy. He takes care of me. He'll take care of you. It's just, and again, that's what me and you are in this business. Like for me, I'm not in it to make, if with the buying and selling, I'm not in it to make a fast buck. It's like if I enjoy making other people happy doing this too. And just to give a little extra, it goes a long way.
Like I said, with mine, most of the reason I do it is stay involved in the game. When you've been in it as long as I have, and when you've had the totality of figures, number one, my name means a lot to me, so I like people to know my name and they're getting authentic, they're getting original, they're getting vintage. And then number two, you know that it's a guy that is looking out, you're getting the right parts, the right pieces, you're getting exactly what you have. That means a lot in the vintage toy world. Reputation is everything.
Oh, I agree. Josh, it's been fun. So not only do you have a great toy collection, you have an excellent shirt. I got that shirt autographed by all 4 voice actors. I used to wear it all the damn time. I love that one. It's the greatest shirt, in my opinion, from the the cartoon line. It's got pretty much everybody on that shirt. So, Josh, where can people find you if this is the first time they're catching these episodes here?
Yep, I'm on Facebook at Josh Melchart. Guide to our visual guide to vintage TMNT, and then I'm on eBay just at Melchart's Guide. That's the only 3 social media platforms I
always nice to keep it simple.
The shirt, yeah, I don't even remember where I got the shirt, but it's got so many
Hot Topic for me. It was, I believe, Hot Topic sold those.
It very well could have been Hot Topic, yeah.
All the great shirts back then, man. You got Mutant, you got the Mighty Bebop and Super Rocksteady, the robot, or the toy line called them robots, but in the cartoon it was Super Rocksteady and Mighty Bebop. They had everybody on that shirt. And I thought it was cool they had Baxter, our homeboy, up top. I thought that was a great part too, man.
And then you got Jaguar from the Archie comics over here, and then Manta Ray instead of Ray Fillet.
Yeah.
I know, it's a very cool shirt. Definitely. I don't know how long I've had it. 6 or 7 years. I love it.
Yep, same here. Josh, as always, it's been a pleasure. We'll see you for episode 4 when we dive into 1991.
Absolutely. Enjoy, and remember to collect them all.
All righty, man. Take it easy, Josh.